Good morning, Xcellence family. This is Kristina Suengas, our Agent Concierge. Today is Title Tuesday, and I am here with Paul Sarone, our title attorney. Good morning, Paul. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, Kristina. Doing great. How about yourself?
Very well, thank you. Hopefully, your week has gotten off to a great start. We are here to touch base with you about something that most people don't even like to think about. It's kind of a necessary evil. We need to do it, but we don't like to address it. Estate planning, and how properly planning, either on the corporate or personal side, can protect your client in the event of a death in the family or a change in ownership, and how that relates to your real estate sale and how that can tie up your sale. Right?
Yep. Yeah. So it's kind of a far-ranging topic. I'm going to focus specifically on how it affects our closings. But yeah, estate planning is something that pretty much everybody needs it one way or the other if you own anything. Unfortunately, it's all going to come into play for all of us at some point, hopefully later than sooner. But the main issue that we have is people that do things, a lot of times either they don't have any kind of estate plan set up, or they kind of do it online. There's a lot of free services now, or cheap services, and not necessarily free, where it's kind of like choose your own adventure type of game, where you say, I want this, and it just spits out canned forms. A lot of times these don't meet the requirements of the law, or take into account different effects that it could have, setting it up that way. So just quick promo type thing is when we do the estate planning, we sit down with clients, see what their goals are, what their potential future changes are. And it's not only setting it up, it's not even saying, okay, I've been procrastinating my estate plan. I'm going to go meet with the attorney now, and we're going to get this done. It's kind of like you got to do checkups on it every couple of years. I would say every 2 to 3 years, or anytime there's a big life event like marriage, divorce, children, new business, or a change in wealth. You need to modify your plan. So it's not just like a one-time set and forget thing. So what ends up happening a lot of times is, it's just to give context for I know this is for your real estate agents, and how this can be a problem for you is we've had instances where somebody goes ahead and sets up an LLC for properties that they own, investment properties, rental properties, vacation homes, so be it. They've set up an LLC, and now that person has died, single member LLC, let's say, and then when they die, now their heirs, whether it be a wife, a son, anybody, is now wants to know what can we do with this property? We want to sell it, and unfortunately, they have to go through the probate process because just because you have an LLC, if it's not properly structured, and most of these single member LLCs do not have operating agreements saying, upon my death, this person is the person who's going to run the company, or a trust agreement or any other kind of estate planning done that says, upon my death, the LLC, the shares, or even before, the shares are owned by the trust, so that your successors can continue with the process. So that's one way it affects our closing, because it's never a good sign, when you have to go through that. And probate, it's something that we all want to avoid if possible, not because they're going to take your property or you're going to lose it. Eventually, things get into the right hands. But, setting up a proper estate planning, varies depending on what people have. But typically, it's going to cost you a few $1,000s. Let's say high range 4 to 5, typical 2 to 3,000. Whereas when you go to a probate, it could be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in fees, plus the time that it takes, because it's based on a percentage of the estate. So if somebody had 3 properties in the LLC, each worth $500,000, even if they had mortgages, the estate is based on that, the value of them, not the debts. So it's a $1.5 million estate, even if that's all they owned. Typical fee is about 2 to 3%, depending on how long the case takes. So it is costly. So that you're gone. A lot of people will be like, well, I don't care, I'm be gone. But if you're leaving stuff for your family, you want them to have as smooth a process as possible and pay as little fees as possible. And, I've seen probates that drag on for years. Yeah. So definitely want to avoid that. Want to make sure, your clients and yourself, if you have properties, that you have a structure, not only for when you die, but if you're at some point incapacitated, you get sick, you're hospitalized, you have dementia, anything like that. It's not just spitting out a trust or a will or an operating agreement. It's having documents in place protecting you by naming who's going to make your decisions if this happens, who is authorized, to continue the business. Because we have also seen that where some, people get older and unfortunately they're not, they have their good days and their bad days, but overall they're not in a right state to make financial decisions. They have no power of attorney, durable power of attorney to handle their financial affairs. So you have to go into a guardianship program, which again, anytime you're going to involve the courts, you're talking more money, you're talking more time, you're talking more stress for the family. So yeah, I mean, that's, in a nutshell, there's a lot to it. And it's something that, again, I think during COVID, we saw, a lot of people promoting estate planning and the online and legal Zooms and all those things. And a lot of times it's not bad, but there's a lot more to it. Like I have seen it several times, people create a living trust and then they don't transfer any of their assets to the trust. So the title remains in their personal name. They die, the trust is worthless basically because the trust doesn't own anything, even though it exists and has zero. So none of the protections that you intended are in there. So there's a lot to it. And you take anything away from this today is, that everything's fixable. It's just, you want to make things as smooth as possible for your family. And you want to, you just want to set everything up right from the beginning and not have that stress or that doubt of what's going to happen the day that I can't run this business or the day that I'm not here anymore. Just kind of leave everything in a state where, the future generations and your loved ones are protected.
I think that's key. I think many times we see where they just say, oh, the client has, a power of attorney. They had a will somewhere. Well, where is it? Where? And then of course, does it cease upon death? And then how does it work from there? And many times people don't know where to find all the important documents. They've done all this work for their family. They don't know where it is. It's stuck away in a safe deposit box. And
that's the other thing is if you do it and don't tell anybody about it, you might as well not even do it, because you have to at least inform the people who are going to be your successor trustees with copies of it and your beneficiaries, of this plan and with copies. Obviously, we always hold copies too for our clients when we set it up, but you're going to want, to let people know and not be surprised later. Well, surprise, you're now the trustee of this company that owns X amount of assets, because that's work for them too. So it's something to keep in mind. If anybody needs advice on this, we're available to help with this area as well. It's the only other area that I get into. I feel like it's all related. And a lot of my real estate clients, need help with this, and we're able to set them up and kind of an added benefit in working with us.
And I think it does make it seamless. We've seen many times where they've done it, they don't know where it is. Especially on a company when there's no operating agreement, and you're trying to sell the property and they don't have anything in place, or they don't know where it is, or like you said, the assets were never moved into the trust. They're just sitting out there personally. So there was no point in all that planning if people don't know and it hasn't been moved over.
Or there's a will. They set up a will instead of a trust, which is fine, but they don't understand that in the will, they say, "Oh no, I have a will," and I said my daughter gets the property when I die, but the will still needs to go through probate court. It just is evidence of what you wanted, and the court will, as long as everything is legal, the court will grant your wishes, but it still needs to go through that proceeding. which is why a lot, trusts are becoming more and more popular because you want to avoid probate. But that happens all the time too. It presents with a will, and we're like, okay, has this gone through probate? No, and then now your closing is delayed because you have to open a probate, get consent from the court to allow the sale of that property.
We've seen that many times where it just delays and delays the process. So I think just, knowing that this planning is so important up front, even for us personally, it's good, to just do this. Like you said, you don't set and forget it, you revisit it. Life events happen. It's important to, manage this thing. Don't just put it out there and forget about it. And we all kind of need one. If we have any type of real estate or own any type of assets, we need to plan ahead for our family and our business partners and whatnot, and make things more efficient. So we're here. Paul, I appreciate your help and touching on this topic. We have seen both scenarios, business and personal, where they have not done that planning and they feel a will is in place, it's enough, and it just blows up the entire closing and delays it 90, 120 days out. And parties lose interest,
Not good for anybody.
Right. So we want to just be proactive. That we have Paul as a resource here, run by any scenarios. If you know a client that's looking to sell and they have this issue, we can help kind of put everything together for them, so it'll be much easier upon the sale. And Paul is so knowledgeable about all these things. I don't hesitate to reach out by phone or email. You can call us at our main corporate line, 305-595-7355. It's the option for title, or reach out to us at support@excellencetitle.com. Paul likes to get an email with some details, specifics on it. You have a scenario and you want to run it by us, email is a great way because you can list all the logistics and the parties involved, right, Paul?
Yeah, that's usually the best way because I see it. Sometimes I might not be available the moment somebody calls, but if they email me the scenario, I always get back with my opinion or what the next step should be. That just makes it more efficient for all of us.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you for taking the time today. We appreciate your ongoing support. We are here to serve all of you, our agents, and we wish you a wonderful week. Thank you. Take care.